Hi everyone, it's our second day of my 12 days of Christmas and we're going all the way through to December 15th, and on that day we will do a live presentation and I'll pick the winner of my mugs that I made in a video about a week ago. So today I'm really excited to use my Cricut machine with fabric. That's something I haven't done before, so it's a little bit of an experiment. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be using my tabletop ironing board that I made, and there's a video about that we'll link. And I'm going to be using my Cricut, and I'm going to be using this really pretty towel that I bought at a craft store, a little hometown craft store where we were visiting for Thanksgiving. And then we're also going to be using some Pellon, sometimes it's called Wonder Under. We'll be using that, and then we'll be using some various fabrics from my fabric stash. I generally buy fat quarters or quarter yard pieces at the fabric store. And so what we're going to do today is do an iron-on applique on this towel. So to get started, what I do is I take the towel and I fold it the way I want it to hang on my stove. And so that's how I would want it to hang. There's, it would be hanging here from the rod. And so that's what I want as my space to do my applique, so it will show up and be pretty. And so the first thing I'm going to do actually is really use a lint roller and really get the lint off of there, because if you remove the lint, it's just easier for the iron-on stuff to work, although I keep grabbing that with my lint roller. And so I just get that really nicely done. And just as a little tip, it's good to wash these first, but I love the feel of a cloth when it's first new, because it has something called sizing on it. And so I wash them, and then I have a can of spray sizing that I spray it with, because I love that crispness in the fabric when it's sized. And so that's what I do. I like to have it washed and ready to go, and then I size it. Okay, so the lint is done. And so what I'm going to do is measure my space, and I don't want it to sit all the way at the bottom, and I'm just going to do just a little bit of a figuring out. I think I'd like it to come about an inch above and maybe come this high. So I've got maybe a total of about 10 inches that way, and if I center it, and probably about 5 inches this way. So that's the space that I'm going to use to create my design. So what we're going to do now is go right into Cricut Design Space, and I'll show you how I have designed my applique for this towel. Okay, so here I am in Cricut Design Space with a new canvas. So I'm going to go into Images, and I want to do a Christmas tree on the front of my towel. And so I'm searching for Christmas tree, and I need to look for one that doesn't have a lot of pieces, a lot of detail. Something like these, because they'll cut as one piece when we cut the fabric on the Cricut. And so I like those, but I like this one better. And so I'm going to choose this one and add it to the canvas. And I'm just going to get all of my elements in here. I also want some text. The text is going to say merry and bright. And I think I'll work on the text first. And so I want that text to be red. And I'm going to join up. See how there are little gaps and things between letters. And I'm actually going to bend this. And so what I'm going to do is do the curve first. And you see with this curve thing, you can curve up and down and in all kinds of ways. And I want it to curve around the top of the tree. And when I do that, you see how it puts gaps between some of the letters, and that will cause it to cut out as separate letters. So I'm just going to fiddle with these letters. Oh, for a minute, I'm going to ungroup them so that each letter moves separately. And then I can move over each letter and get it connected to the letter in front of it, so it looks more like a cursive writing that's all connected together. And it's a little bit tricky to get them all connected, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so it looks like those are all connected just fine. I'm going to kind of center that "and" in the middle. And then if I highlight them all and weld them, it gets rid of all the little lines between the letters and puts them together all as one. Now, we've got an issue with the tree because when that cuts, it's going to try to cut all these little tiny holes. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go to the contour button, and I'm actually going to hide all contours so I don't have to go through and get rid of each little dot. And I'm going to keep just that tree shape. And so this is what I end up with. All right. Now, I'm going to do a yellow star, but I don't want to stack it onto other pieces of fabric. So I'm going to pull in a star, and let's make it yellow so we can see how this is going to look, because that's good for our eye. And I've resized my tree, but I need a star that's going to cover that whole bit. So I'm just going to make that star bigger and keep laying it over until I get a star that covers all of the parts of the star on top of the tree. And I really like how that looks. The star is big and bold, and there is that whole thing about merry and bright. So the star is kind of an important part. So I'm going to highlight that. And because I don't want to have to iron on the star over other fabric, I'm going to slice those. Now, when this happens, it also kind of messes up the star. I'm going to pull out the tree, and see, when I pull that, I can get rid of all of these pieces that have been sliced off. And let me pull this back in, because see how I've got this little bit that I missed? I'm just going to go into contour, highlight that, and it'll take that away. And then I want to bring in a second star shape, and I'm going to size it the same as the one I just cut. So to save me some time in trying out the sizing again, and I'll just put it over here, make sure I like how that looks, and I can get rid of the cut star. Let's bring this star back into yellow. And there we have it. I really like how that looks. So I'm just going to group these together so that I can move them around. And there we go. There is my design. And I like it, and it's simple, and it will work great for applique. Okay, now that we have the tree all ready, then let's go in to make it. And I'm going to make sure that on each of these pieces that are going to be appliqued, that are going to be in fabric, we're going to skip Merry and Bright for just a minute, and I'll explain out why. I'm going to go to the star, and I am going to click continue on that. So here are my options for fabric. And if I browse all materials and I type in fabric, then I can go right to cotton. Now I use cotton a lot, so I have already selected it, put the star as one of my favorites. But that's how I would choose it in the first place. Okay, so I'm choosing cotton, and now it's telling me that I need to load my rotary blade and get the mats done. So now we're going to go out of Design Space, and I'm just going to show you all of that and show you how I'm working with the lettering that's very small, and then so we'll go from there. Okay, let's get our fabric ready to go on the Cricut mat to be cut. And so I have my ironing board here, and I have some pieces of that Pellon Wonder Under that I've already cut. And so with Wonder Under, it's important to make sure that you're using the correct side. And so one side has some adhesive, it's a little bit bumpy. The other side is smooth, it's the carrier paper that the adhesive goes on. So the first thing I'm going to do is iron my fabric, just press it down, because you don't want wrinkles in it, because if it is wrinkled, it won't accept the Pellon as firmly as it should. And that also heats up your fabric and gets it ready for the Pellon. So I picked this fabric for the Christmas tree because I felt like this little design looked a little bit like decorations on a tree. So with Pellon, you're going to go wrong side of fabric and bumpy side down, because that's the adhesive. And you notice it doesn't cover the whole thing. I cut this to match my Christmas tree size, and you never want to let your Pellon overlap your fabric, because then the adhesive gets on your ironing board. Don't do that. So my first move is to do a quick once over with the Pellon, just to tack it down and get it into place. And then what I'm going to do is go hold and 10 seconds. Now, this is a small iron, so this is going to take a little bit longer to do, but we're going to just keep moving through this. You can also, if I was doing a large area with Pellon, I would also use a slightly damp pressing cloth. This, I'm just going to go ahead without the pressing cloth, because this works actually just fine as well. And so this idea with making a shape out of fabric and then attaching the adhesive Pellon to it is a great idea for creating t-shirts for your kids, for some like wall hangings, pillows. Now, Pellon can, after time, start to wear off. So this is not as secure as a machine stitched applique, but you can, when you're all finished, stitch around this and then make it secure. So it's not something that's going to go through many, many, many washings. And so just keep that in mind as you're doing this. So I know that my tree's going to fit in this spot, and that Pellon is stuck down. So I'm going to go through and do this on each of my different colors. Actually, I'm going to show you with the yellow, and then I'll show you what happened when I did a test on the lettering with the red. So wrong side of fabric. This side really doesn't have a wrong, this fabric doesn't have a wrong side. Bumpy side of Pellon down on the fabric, and the Pellon should never be bigger than your fabric, because you really don't want that adhesive stuck to your ironing board. But Pellon has been around for a long time. Years ago, when my oldest daughter was little, I used to make t-shirts this way. I had a little business going on, and I would make t-shirts for her with this Pellon like this. So there you go. And then you notice I went back through and ironed the right side just to make sure everything is secure. Now, let me show you what happened. I did a trial piece with the red and the Pellon to cut the letters to see if that would work. Let me show you the results of that. So it did not turn out very well. For one thing, it jumbled up a lot in the cutting, and a lot of the Pellon came off, didn't come through when we cut with the Cricut. Some of it did, some of it didn't. If this was large print, I think it would have done better. But I experimented just to see, because, you know, I'm trying things out for both of us. So that didn't work very well. And so for the lettering part of our design, we are going to use, I'm trying two things. I'm going to try one iron-on red glitter, and then I'm going to try one that's just regular iron-on vinyl, so that we can see which one we like, and I can compare and make a choice. So when I go to do that, please remember that in Design Space, I'm going to have to mirror those words so that when I iron on, it comes out right. And so we've got that done and this done. And so I'm going to go ahead and print the words, and then we'll come back and get the whole towel assembled. All right, now to cut fabric on Cricut, having that pellon really helps. So when you are selecting materials, just select cotton and it cuts just fine, but you will need the Cricut rotary blade. And so it comes in a little thing like this. So you're just going to take it out of your pouch, open up the B portal, I guess you'd call it. Take out your regular needle. This one, it has a plastic cover over the wheel. Leave that on. Let's see if I can get that showing better. So leave that plastic part on there. You'll take off the part that covers the wheel, but this plastic top part at the top you're going to leave on. And so then you'll just slide that right in there and close up your B portal, and you're good to go for cutting fabric. All right, so I'm so excited to show you how these turned out. So we have the pellon in the back, we have our tree that cut really well, and our star. So then what I went ahead and did is cut out of, I used regular red vinyl, iron-on actually, and then I used the iron-on glitter vinyl, and I'm gonna weed these, and then we're going to figure out which one we like the best. Alrighty, so now let's take a look at our tree with our star and just get an idea of which one we prefer. There's the glitter, and there's the, oh, I think I like that one. Yeah, when I look at it, that's the one I like. All right, but I'm absolutely gonna save that. All right, so now let's get everything ironed on. So for the ironing on part of this, I'm gonna go ahead and open up my towel, and I have ironed so I can see my edges. So in fact, let me press that down again, just so I can very clearly see where my design is going. I want to have some lines to guide me. So now when I look at this, I can see the crease here, the crease here, so that I can tell how to line up my tree and get it so it's centered in the middle of the space that I want to use. So I think I'm going to, and I still see a little bit of that center crease, so I'm going to use that to line up the tree like that. Okay. Now, when I'm pressing these down this time, what I'm going to do is peel off now the paper backing that we had with the Wonder Under. And you notice I didn't tear off that paper backing before I cut it out. You want that paper backing left on while you've got it in the Cricut to cut that fabric, okay? So you can take off that little paper backing, and then you've got the adhesive right there on your applique item. I'm gonna try to pick a little corner that might not be visible in case I fray it or something. There we go. So take off that paper backing, and I don't know if you can see on camera that it's now got a shiny back to it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, line that up, make it look even across the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and put the star on right now as well. Now, if you have a Cricut press, you can just go ahead with the press. I don't, so I'm going to start with the star and the tree up here because I want those to be really well aligned. So I'm going to start right there. I'm going to press straight down for 10 seconds. I've got my iron at its highest temperature. Gonna work my way down and make sure that I catch in all edges of the design, and that I make sure that I'm holding each part down for 10 seconds. Also make sure you don't have your steam option on. You don't want to be steaming this. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Now I'm gonna go to the back and just give it a quick iron down. There. And that does hold pretty securely. It doesn't face the same wear and tear as maybe an infusible ink would, but that will last. I just want to really make sure. The iron-on vinyl takes a little bit longer to adhere than the Pell-on Wonder Under, so I'm just trying to give it a really good chance to really hold down. Okay, so it's finally, it took a long time. I think because maybe my iron doesn't heat as hot as some of the presses do. And another thing that helped was to let it cool before the peeling off. And so I'm going to do just a final press on that. But it did come out. I have some errors, but aren't we learning? I mean, that's what we're doing. So it did come out, but I really like how that looks with the words and everything. So when it's hanging on my stove, I think that's going to be really pretty. And maybe what I can do, actually, because I do still have this other Merry and Bright, and now that I have a little bit more experience with the iron-on vinyl, this is my first time using it, you know, and I don't have a press, so I'm using it with the iron. And so this was a great experiment, but the beauty of that is I have another side of the towel, and I think what I might do is go ahead and do the same print on the other side, if not for decor, at least for practice. So that is 12 Days of Christmas number 2. So be sure to join me tomorrow for day number 3. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe, and invite others to join our 12 Days of Christmas. And so thanks for watching. See you next time.